It's already. I apologize. Yeah,
Oh, you're fine.
That is a good idea. Give her access. I give her a job and not the tools to do the job. Okay, so we go ahead and get started. Since it's 7 o'clock, we have 31 people registered, which is amazing. I'm like so astounded that we have so many people interested in this great topic. Shouldn't surprise me, but I was. But anyway, I'm Jess Hayden. On behalf of Susquehanna Folk, I'd like to welcome you to today's Irish Sessions Workshop with Seamus Carmichael, and followed by a mini Irish session. As I'm sure most of you know, Susquehanna Folk is based in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. We're sponsored by the Pennsylvania Council of the Arts, the Cultural Alliance of York County, and the National Endowment for the Arts. We present concerts, workshops, jams, and dances throughout the season, and the Susquehanna Folk Festival in the summer. Today's program is the first in what we hope will be many public programs of our new Folk Arts Center, a virtual space that serves to celebrate folk and traditional artists practicing their crafts locally. Visit our website at susquehannafolk.org and take a look at our folk arts gallery, which includes interesting profiles of area artists, including a really nice profile on Seamus Carmichael. Beautiful profile. In a moment, I'll ask Grace Lee, our board member and member of the Celtic group Seasons, to introduce Seamus. But before, I'd like to give you a few Zoom instructions. We ask that you keep your mic on mute throughout the workshop, unless you're called on to answer a question or leading a tune. Background noise from your house can be very disturbing, and you may know that it's not possible for us all to play together on Zoom. Do you all know that? Raise your hand if you know that. It's a cacophony if we all try to play together. So please keep your mic muted. If you have questions or want to make a comment, please put your questions in the chat. Grace is going to be looking through the chat for questions for Seamus to answer, and she'll be reading them to him. So please do that. Do you all know where the chat is? I hope
you can see yourself.
You don't know anything about this, do you?
All right. So does somebody that knows? Okay. If you look at the bottom of your screen, you have, and you might have to hover your screen over it, you have a row of commands, and in the center it says chat. And if you click on it,
why don't you see any of that?
You can make a comment to Seamus, and then he'll know that you have a question. And I'll be muting everyone in just a minute so we can get voices quieted down a little bit. And similarly, if you feel like you'd like to lead a tune later on, please write that in the chat so we know that you want to lead. I know Seamus has something planned for the first one, but we'd love everyone to participate if you're interested in leading a tune, and you could write that in the chat also, and he'll be reminding you about that. We recommend that you use speaker view, which is up in your right, on my computer anyway, up on your right corner. You have a choice between toggling between speaker view and gallery view. So we recommend you use gallery view when Seamus is talking and other people are asking questions. And if you have any questions throughout the presentation, feel free to use the chat feature and we'll do our best to help you. I think we have everyone on the screen, but if anyone has a big question right now, just raise your hand, or a big concern or something going on. I think everyone's muted, so we're doing great. So I'd like to introduce Grace Lee, who will introduce Seamus.
Thank you so much, Jess. As Jess said, my name is Grace Lee. I am a board member for Susquehanna Folk, and if you have attended any Susquehanna Folk concerts or have been to any sessions in the central PA area, I'm sure you have run into Seamus Carmichael, and I just wanted to share a few quick words about Seamus just so you can learn more about him. So Seamus Carmichael was born in Magherafelt in County Derry, which is in Northern Ireland, and his father was a laborer and a part-time farmer, and his mother was a traditional singer and farm housewife, so there was music in his family. And music has always been a part of Seamus's life. He grew up listening to really everything from 60s and 70s pop music to Ceilidh bands. And his best friend from high school was actually an All-Ireland accordion champion. And if you haven't heard of the All-Ireland, it is the world's largest traditional Irish music competition held in Ireland every year. And Seamus is also very talented in the visual arts as well. And he won Northern Ireland's Rome Prize winner for fine art printmaking in 1981 to 82. And he has lived in the United States since 1984, but only got involved in Irish music in the last 15 years. And as I said before, you can find Seamus at a majority of traditional folk concerts and sessions in Central PA. He actually also started his own session, which is held in Hershey, Pennsylvania. It's an awesome session. Unfortunately, because of COVID, it had to kind of stop, but hopefully it will be starting again because it is a wonderful session. And with that, please welcome Seamus.
Well, Grace, thank you for the kind words. I might add that I'm primarily a singer. When I first started going to sessions, there was a session that had someone in Lebanon here where I live had started a session in the back room of her little Irish chippy that she had in the middle of Lebanon. There was a Irish tricolor hanging out the front of the building, and it's like, what is going on here? And so she was making sort of traditional food, and told me that she was organizing a session there. And so I went along to that session, and there were people from Central PA, some of whom you may know. The Martin family were there, and Grace is pretty well acquainted with those guys. And there were also a number of musicians that she was acquainted with from the Allentown, Bethlehem area. Steve Skrinieri, Steve Stanislaw, and then from the Reading area, people like Kenny Garrett, whom we talked about before everything started up, were coming to it. And so these people were all playing jigs and reels and hornpipes and stuff like that. And I was the only singer, which was kind of strange to me because coming from the north of Ireland, there's a lot of singing is part of the Irish session scene in the north of Ireland. And the north of Ireland historically has a very strong song tradition as well. It's at the confluence of influences from Scotland, from the Irish tradition, and from the English tradition. So you get a lot of things showing up there that, you know, come from one or other of these three kind of cultural streams. So I ended up kind of falling into being a singer. And after spending time going to sessions and sitting there listening to people playing tunes and, as we say in Irish, lilting along with them, I decided that I might as well learn how to play one of the easy instruments. Easy, I thought, the tin whistle. So I got myself a tin whistle 3 or 4 years ago and have been tootling along with the tin whistle since then. So I also fell into, because of going to sessions, I also fell into writing the occasional song. And so that has been kind of fun to sort of rediscover or to discover that part of my own abilities. So all of those things are you know, part of what may happen to you if you start going to sessions when, please God, we get to go to sessions again. The other thing, and this is the thing that I can't recommend enough about having the opportunity to play in sessions, is the whole idea of being part of a group of people playing music together. That's the biggest joy of all in sessions. I mean, Jessica, who is my buddy from these sessions, can tell you how much fun we have. Basically, you know, somebody will play a tune or sing a song, and suddenly you'll have a bunch of people improvising accompaniments to it, and you know, joining in on choruses, and it's just, you know, one of the great joys of my life is to get to sit down and make music with people. So in Irish sessions, the kind of standard way that I'm used to in sessions is it's a kind of a turn-taking conversation, I think is a fair way to put it. When you come to a session for your first time, it's a good idea to basically let people know that I've never done a session before, but I can play a couple of songs if you're willing to play some tunes or sing some songs, so that the person who's the session leader, and there usually is kind of an acknowledged person who is the session leader, that person then can give you the nod if you want to play, or will just pass you by as the turn goes around the group. Whenever your turn would come, you would be your turn to play. And the sessions that I go to, the ones based here in the Lebanon area or down in Lancaster, or the one that we've done in Hershey, and other ones that I've gone to in, you know, like to the Gary Owen and places like that. The other musicians tend to be very sympathetic and supportive of you when you play. That's not always the rule. There are some sessions where the caliber of musicians is very high, and you kind of have to like make it worth their while to listen to you. But the sessions that I go to typically here in Central PA are very accepting of people, you know, who are beginners playing or singing in the tradition. So they'll typically, you know, once they know what your level or confidence level is, they'll, you know, happily bring you in and, you know, support you as you struggle through a tune. And you know, if you've gone as far as you can in the tune, they'll happily take it up and run with it as well, if that's going to be the case. So it's a very supportive scene. And like my wife said once, when we went to sessions, when we used to take our family back to Ireland on a sort of 5-year basis, and we would always go to a session with my friend John Hendry and his family, who are like the, you know, champion All-Ireland musicians that we were talking about earlier. And there they were very sympathetic to like my little kids, you know, singing a song that they knew or something like that. So it's all about the pleasure of making music together, and the sharing of that style of music and how you can become part of it. So that's my starting spiel. If anyone has something they want to ask me, I don't see any questions in the chat room here yet, but if you've something you want to ask me, feel free to put your hand up, and we'll start things going there. Sylvia, it looks like Sylvia has something she wants to ask us.
Are there particular books or collections of songs that you would recommend?
Oh, there's a bunch of them out there. Now, and this kind of relates to something that Charlene, I think, asked me earlier in an email. You have, you're going into a tradition here, which is a tradition of listeners, an oral tradition and an oral tradition. And many of the people that I play sessions with are people who play by ear and don't read music. Some of the best musicians that I've run into are, you know, not musically literate, and I include myself in that. I only read music very painstakingly and slowly. I mean, I can sort of know where I'm going if it's a sung piece and I'm following along with a group of people, but I'm not a good sight reader. And in many cases, the thing about the tunes and songs is they gain something from you internalizing them. And so you want to know your tune well enough. I mean, as Kenny might have said to you, Sylvia, first of all, you learn the tune and then you make it yours. Right. And so when you have a tune or a song you spend a lot of time with it, practicing it before you're ready to sit in there and share it with people.
Okay, I guess
pardon my rambling for a minute, but I'm getting to recommend you one of the like for a whistle player, you know, one of the best ones that I've come across is a book called I think it's called The Complete Irish Tin Whistle Book, and it has 3 accompanying CDs with it, which for somebody that plays by ear like me is a godsend. And I just kept the CDs, and I give Jessica the book itself because, you know, my reading of the music was not going to be the way I was going to learn the tunes in it. But that's by a guy called McCulloch, he's
that?
yeah. I'll send you the title in the chat. I'll put it out for anybody that wants to have it there. But I basically use it to play my tunes along with. So what he does is he gives you the tune played at a slow speed. That's your learner speed. And then he follows it by the tune played at session speed. So
Okay.
you get a chance to sort of find your way through the melody, and then he plays it with a bit of ornamentation like it would appear when he's performing it. So you have a performance speed and you have a practice speed. So there are 2 versions of each tune on the CD. So you'll be able to get a chance to you know, play along with it until you're comfortable with the tune, and then you can go into getting up to performance speed. His name is L.E. McCulloch, McCullough, and he's a well-known flute and whistle player based in and around the New York City area. He's worked with people like Ken Burns and you know,
Wow.
people like that in creating soundtracks and so on. And he's got a kind of hard to find website, but has a lot of whistle material on there.
The reason I was asking about some books or something is because I know there's fake books for rock and roll stuff, and I didn't know if there was anything equivalent.
There is a Celtic fake book, but it's aimed primarily at songs. And actually, the Celtic fake book has a lot of kind of classic songs that, you know, you would sing in sessions, and it'll also give you the chords and the notes for the melody of the song. But so that's 2 that are in my collection anyway. But if you're aimed at singing, the fake book is a pretty good resource, although I would not recommend its lyrics as authoritative in every case. But the other spot that I really like for if you're interested in singing, I'd recommend a couple of resources. If you go to the Irish Traditional Music Archive, that is the mother lode of you know, Irish traditional music. That's based in Dublin. itma.ie, I think is the name of it. And the other one is the Mudcat, which is actually based out of, or was started by a couple of people at Penn State many years ago. And Mudcat is a really good resource if you're interested in the lyrics of folk songs, and it doesn't stick solely to Irish music. It's kind of across the board folk songs in kind of pretty much any language that's spoken in North America. So oftentimes if I'm like researching a song that I want to sing, I'll go there because some of the commentary is from people like John Molden, who's an authority on Irish song and one of the frequent commentators in that particular forum.
Great, thank you very much.
You are welcome. hope to hear you playing as one of Ken's students one of these days. Anybody else got a question or a thing that they would like to hear? If I can provide an explanation to it. So Jess, this is a question for Jess Mulholland. How many of the tunes have you managed to get out of the
from that book? No, not really. I've been focusing a lot on piping and learning guitar now too. So I've kind of not honestly been focusing on the whistle so much. So, but thank you for that. I'm gonna have to learn a few, I think, before I see you again.
Yeah. Well, there's one of the things that we've found during the COVID lockdown is that musicians have no excuse for not practicing anymore.
Nope. Just the lack of motivation or accountability, I guess.
Accountability? You need accountability.
Sometimes, yeah.
Well, that's one of the things that I'd also recommend when you come along to a session. You know, if your first time, try and be prepared. If you're brave enough to contribute to the session, try and be prepared. It's nice to hear somebody, you know, even if they're not very good, you know their way through the tunes and stuff like that. And I know we've all forgotten words, and we've all like crashed and burned halfway through a tune and forgotten the B part or something like that. But like I said before, you often have a sympathetic audience who, if you have picked up one of the familiar tunes, and that's another thing that Irish music has, you'll find that if you go to sessions in a particular region, and Irish music is kind of international these days, you'll find that there's a group of tunes that are commonly played in that area. And I know our friends, Dan, doing a sudden blank, what's the neighbor of yours, Jess, who plays banjo?
Shingler.
Dan
and Melissa. Yeah.
Yeah, Dan has put together a list of you know, the tunes that are commonly played, you know, around his area, and you know, down at the Garryowen and at the sessions that we do in the Lancaster, Lebanon area. And so there's a set of about, in that, I think he mentions about 40 or 50 tunes that I can share with people that, you know, are good ones to work on. I see Holly there chipping in on Last Night's Fun by Kieran Carson, and the field guide to the Irish sessions as well. Kieran Carson is somebody that I used to work along with. A very nice guy, and a fine flute player, and married to a very good fiddler, Deirdre Shannon. And the two of them were quite a force in traditional music in the Belfast area when I lived in Belfast back in the 1980s. Are there significant differences between the music of the north of Ireland and the south of Ireland? There is, in several ways. If you have a musician from the north of Ireland, say playing tunes, who really reflects that tradition, you'll find that the style of fiddling that comes out of the Donegal area is quite similar to Scottish playing. Scotland and Ireland being next door neighbors and from the same kind of Celtic heritage, have a lot in common in their music. The style of Scottish fiddle playing is very rhythmic and very sort of hard driving a lot of the time, and that style carries over into Donegal fiddling. So you have people like Johnny Doherty from the Donegal tradition, and the kind of tradition that fiddlers like the Mairead from Altan demonstrates, that kind of, you know, driving fiddle style that she's got. That's part of the northern Ulster style of fiddle playing. The predominant styles in the south of Ireland are more towards the west of Ireland. So you have the Slieve Lucra tradition from Clare and Kerry, those areas, which is, tends to be a little more ornamental. And Kevin Burke is somebody who plays a lot of stuff in that. Oh yes, somebody's rejoicing. Sylvia is rejoicing at the mention of Kevin Burke. Kevin plays a lot in that. It's a very lyrical style. You've got players that fit into that tradition. Sligo fiddlers are also another set of sort of stylistic reference points too. The singing styles do differ. The north of Ireland has many more songs in the English language. The only songs that you'll get in the Irish language are typically survivors from the 17th and 18th century in the sort of western parts of Northern Ireland. But in Donegal, you have a fully fledged Giltacht tradition. So again, referring back to somebody like the folks in Altan or Clannad and people like that, they pioneered the use of Gaelic language songs. And in the west of Ireland, you have a very strong sean-nós tradition, again, singing in the Irish language. The east of Ireland has been speaking English for a lot longer. And so you have a strong kind of city tradition of songwriting in Dublin and the surrounding counties. So you have a bunch of very strong singers that come out of that tradition, and a lot of songs that are basically from the English-speaking eastern part of Ireland, around the area around Dublin. So there are regional variations in both the musical playing styles and in the singing styles. What else we got here? Reference for books of lyrics. Again, the Celtic Fake book that I mentioned earlier is one that you'll get at your local music store. I've seen it here at numerous music stores in central PA, so that's one of the places where you'll get a good handful of the lyrics. I think I have probably about half a dozen different song books, but the one that, like, for me as a singer with a kind of cultural reference point from the north of Ireland, the one that I always find myself dipping into, or hearing a song from some other singer and thinking that's an interesting song, is Songs of the People by Sam Henry, which is published here in the US by University of Georgia Press, and that's Songs of the People. I'll probably do one of the songs from Songs of the People as kind of my starter to the whole, musical part of the evening. Songs of the People means a lot to me personally because I grew up with it being published on a weekly basis in a local newspaper, although it was actually being republished because it was started in the 1920s. Sam Henry was he was an excise man in the when Ireland was under united under British rule. He was a member of the Customs and Excise Police in Ireland, and he would be out there in the hills of County Antrim or the hills of County Derry looking for illicit whiskey and so on. And he was a very personable guy, and he also played the whistle and he played the fiddle. And he would be chit-chatting to people and picking up tunes and songs as they went about his duties. And but whenever he retired from the excise service, he started to write this column for the Northern Constitution newspaper, and he gradually built this massive song bank that comes to like 300 to 400 songs collected in the north of Ireland. Actually, and he was collecting songs all the way into what became the Republic of Ireland as well. So there were songs from Donegal, from Monaghan and Cavan, as well as from the 6 counties of what became Northern Ireland. He collected songs primarily in English, but a lot of those songs have been recorded by people in the folk boom of the 1980s and subsequently out of Ireland and Scotland and England. So if you've listened to Paul Brady, if you've listened to Andy Irvine, if you've listened to Planksty, if you've listened to folks like that, you've probably heard songs collected by Sam Henry. Cara Dillon is another great Northern Irish artist who's showcased a lot of the Sam Henry collection in her recordings over the years. So that's always one that I would recommend. Not in the hills of Connemara. No, he didn't go to the hills of Connemara. He was strictly to the hills of the north of Ireland. For a beginner, what local sessions would be best to try? I'm not sure who that one's from. Oh, it's from Jess. Okay. So locally, I'm based in Lebanon, Pennsylvania. And so I have my own session, which is on third Saturdays of the month. And it takes place at Union House Tap Room, which is in eastern Lebanon County in a little town called Richland. If you live closer to the Harrisburg area, there's a number of sessions in and around Harrisburg. You have the sessions over at the Gary Owen, which is has been going for a long time. I can't remember what their schedule is off the top of my head, but the Gary Owen is one that Jess could probably tell you the dates and times on. The other one, the other couple of ones that I know is one that I set up and that Grace mentioned in over in at Hershey on the campus of the College of Medicine and the Hershey Med Center. They have got the Beanery, and we were doing a session there until COVID interrupted things on the first Sunday of the month, and that was from 2 to 5. Down in Lancaster, okay, first Sundays. Down in Lancaster, there were 3 sessions before life was cut short. They were at TELUS 360, had a couple of sessions on a second Saturday of the month and on the fourth Sunday of the month. So it was second Saturday and fourth Sunday of the month. And both of those sessions ran from 2 until 5 on Saturday or Sunday afternoon. And then there was another one at Annie Bailey's on, what was it, second Sunday of the month or first Sunday of the month, Jess?
That was the second Sunday.
Second Sunday of the month from 2 to 5. That was a really fun one. That we all enjoyed that one very much. It's kind of like you're in the middle of the bar, sitting in the fireplace essentially, and it's a nice nook. And there was also a lot of people would come out and dance to the stuff at that one. Our friend Murphy had also got one going on a Tuesday evening at Molly's, which is just a little bit uptown from King Street. I can't remember off the top of my head. That was a Tuesday evening one that went from 7 until 10 on a Tuesday evening. I think it was third Tuesday of the month, something like that. If you're interested in sessions, go to thissession.org, THESESSION.org. And if you're in any part of the world, you can find a session happening in that city. As I was joking with somebody, there's apparently 3 of them happens during the week in Seoul, South Korea. So even in Seoul, South Korea, you probably can run into a session if you look hard enough. And with the proliferation of Irish pubs around the world, the session has gone international. Apparently there are great sessions in Germany and in Russia as well. I have that on good authority from people that have been there, done that. Oh, look, Gary Owen apparently had a session by invitation now. All right, there you go. Well, I'll watch my inbox for invitations then in coming days. I know that over the last while, people have been doing kind of organized invited sessions in their homes. And so we've had people like asking half a dozen friends that play to come along on a, you know, Saturday evening or a Sunday evening or something like that, and sit around and play music too. So those are some of the options that are out there at the minute. And State College, yeah, I've known about the State College one. It's just a little bit out of my orbit, so I've never gotten to it. But Bruce up there had been organizing that for a good while, or participating, and I wasn't sure if he was the organizer of it or not.
Bruce is not the organizer, but he's with us all the time.
Oh, okay, right. So that was Holly was putting in that bit there, yeah.
Yeah, and currently we've got just a small group of the regulars. We've been meeting since 2004, and we are meeting in people's backyards, but we're kind of not ready for company at this point, you know, due to safety reasons. But when we get back, check us out on the State College Area Irish Session on Facebook, and we list where we're going to be playing and things like that.
Well, that sounds good.
And
all right.
When it's safe, we'd love to have other people.
Yeah, I mean, I found the session.org to be terrific when I'm traveling. Like I went to San Francisco last year and consulted the session.org, and said to the folks who were given as their sort of session leaders, can I drop in? And they made me very welcome. Same with visiting Pittsburgh, same with visiting New York City area. All of those places list their sessions. There's a very strong group of session listings through Facebook for the New York area that's run by Maureen Donaghy, I believe, does it for that area. And so you can just do a New York City sessions search on Facebook, and you'll get invited to participate in the information for that one. So those are some of the fun things there. Online sessions, I've participated in an online session all the way through COVID, organized by Donnie Carroll. That's the Sunnyside singers group. There are a slew of them out there. There's the resumed sessions coming out of Ireland. There's the ones coming out of Belfast, like the Sunflower Folk Club sessions. For singers, there's the Goleen, and that's not an advertisement for a cereal. This is how Goilin is pronounced in the Irish language. The Goleen sessions are when they're live, are based in Dublin, and they feature some of the top traditional singers in Ireland. And they're online these days, and you actually get to hear the singers better with them online than you would necessarily in the pub setting, because there's a lot of clinking of glasses and palaver going on in the background sometimes. Anybody else here? Oh, session etiquette. Yeah, somebody asked about session etiquette, and I know this is a question that Jessica is very familiar with this one. Session etiquette is that you have to remember that you're playing for the other musicians in the group. You're not just playing to be heard by the patrons in the pub. And so you are communicating rather than blasting. So you play at a reasonable tempo, if you're a very good musician and can speed things up to breakneck pace. That is not always appreciated. You also, and this comes into, I think, what Jess is kind of elbowing me about. It also comes in a lot with percussion players. There are those who will, you know, take a trip to Ireland or go past an Irish souvenir shop and get themselves a boron, which is the Irish skin drum. And, oh, yay! Thank you, Kathy, for bringing out your boron there. And they will hammer away irrespective of what's going on in the actual music. And there's also the famous spoons player jokes that we have come to love over the years. People that are too fond of the noise they're making to listen to what the other players are doing. My friend Justin Cook, who's a very fine boron player, said that the difference between playing percussion in most other settings is that in a jazz band or a rock band or something like that, the percussionist is setting the pace for the music. In Irish music, the percussionist is ornamenting the tunes, and he is not in charge of the pace. So the fiddler is typically the guy that's in charge of the pace, I find, at sessions, or the person who's leading the tunes at the time. So if that helps save anybody's you know, embarrassment, that I hope I've helped there. So, you know, don't be so full of yourself that you think that you can lead the session, if it's your first time especially, and listen to the other players if you're going to play along. And there's some players that get very upset with a person who's trying to learn the tune as they listen to it and are noodling. So that's something else that, you know, play along with the tunes that you know, but you know, try to internalize them rather than to learn them on the trot is good manners as well. Okay, as far as the links to the online sessions, the one that I'm talking about is the Sunnyside Singers session. And that one's out of New York. I was invited to play at that, a paid gig coming up in June of this year, and then COVID came along, and you know, my New York debut was just spoiled completely.
Just saying, you might not have wanted to be there.
Yeah, and you know, as Jess mentioned, having your instrument in tune is also much appreciated at sessions too. Now there are characters who will start a song in a key of their own making. And I put myself firmly in that particular camp. And that causes some head scratching among people who might want to accompany you when you're playing a tune. I'm kind of lucky that I can cover a fair range with my voice. So you know, when I start in sort of like B minor or something like that, and people are like, how the hell do I get that on my guitar? It's like, okay, we're starting in the key of Seamus here. But you know, my only excuse is that I'm an unaccompanied singer for a good reason.
But that's okay, Seamus. If you're leading, you can play in whatever key you want.
Yeah, I suppose so. I suppose so. some musicians will do stuff like that. Like Charlie Cadic has a penchant for taking a tune and then transposing it into some kind of minor or mode of who knows what description, and suddenly an Irish tune sounds like it came out of the Balkans. So it's you know, it takes all sorts to make a session, and that's half the fun of it as well. Yeah, yes, I think I've heard that line, Steve, about Sean Smith getting Earl Hitchens out of the session because he was playing Boron so badly. Yeah, I can recommend the song called "The Spoon's Murder" by Con O'Driscoll for those of you that haven't heard it before. It's too long for me to impose upon you as my song for the session here, but it is a very funny song about a guy who you know, basically thinks he's the bee's knees as far as playing his spoons at the session, and is put out of his misery, shall we say, by one of the musicians who were part of the session, and then local law enforcement is brought in and they cover it up completely. They say he you know, was trick cycling in the public house yard, and that's how he was so badly mangled.
I'd like to speak a minute about the importance of the Irish session. And a few years ago, we had the opportunity to present Liz Carroll at our festival. And she's one of the finest American Irish fiddlers around. I mean, she's written some amazing tunes. And she talked about how the Irish session was really how she learned to play the instrument and how she learned to, you know, to play all these pieces. And she would go to sessions in Chicago, where there's a big Irish American community. And she would every time she went, she would just learn a few measures. And then the next time she would go and learn a few measures more. And that's how she really became the fiddler that she became today. So, you know what Seamus has been talking about, these Irish sessions are so integral in the music and how people learn the music and pass it along to other musicians.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the sort of reasons that Irish music has you know, sustained itself as it has come out of Ireland, because in all the sort of immigrant communities across the US, for instance, you have, and I mean, some people say that the Irish session really evolved among the Irish in London originally, that, you know, people coming out from the old country working laboring jobs, you know, would come into the pub at the weekend and bring their fiddles along and their concertinas and whatnot, and they would sit down and swap tunes, and then it just basically spread from London in the 20s and 30s and became kind of an international phenomenon. And everywhere Irish musicians would go, they would, you know, create these sessions in local bars and so on. You know, there are sessions that take place in places other than bars. There are plenty of sessions that happen in restaurants and in like you know, Irish centers and things like that around the country and around the world. But the bar scene is certainly an integral part of it. So you have to. One of the things that is tough about playing in bars is that you have to compete with the racket that's going on around you a lot of the time. And so, you know, to stand up and, you know, play a slow air or sing a sensitive song can be a fool's errand sometimes with the, you know, the crowd of revelers around you. But it's one of those things that keeps going anyway, thank goodness. Well, are we ready to make some music then? I see we had a few volunteers in there. I'll start things off myself. So this is kind of my session song. So a few years ago, I was at a session in Lancaster, and a good friend of ours, Robert Murphy, known simply as Murphy to everybody, was playing his whistle. This was in air-conditioned splendor of an August session, and he was playing his whistle, and condensation was dripping out of the end of his whistle. And at the end of the set, there was a small puddle on the floor between his feet. And he kind of looked at me and said, "It was the whistle, not me. Carmichael, write a song about the spittle in the whistle." So I was thinking of a famous 19th century song called "Fill the Fluter's Ball" as I was sort of creating lyrics for this song that I was going to sing. And I came up with this one, which we've since kind of refined as one of our party pieces at the sessions down in Lancaster and wherever I go these days. Car windows were all rolled up, though not a sign of rain. Out on the seat, tin whistle lay in pain. The driver's side I busted in with the handy stone, and I bathed it in my spit till it regained its tone. For it's the spittle in the whistle that smooths out all the tunes. It's the spittle in the whistle that makes them shake the spoons. And the best of the players, their soul comes out in drips, in the rolls and the crans and the spittle off their lips. They'll tell you that they think your fiddle, you should tune it. They'll also let you know that humidity will ruin it. When summer comes around and you're out gigging in the heat, keep your whistle by your side, not in the car's back seat. For it's the spittle in the whistle that smooths out all the tunes. It's the spittle in the whistle that makes them shake the spoons. And the best of the players, their soul comes out in drips, in the rolls and the crans and the spittle off their lips. Some players treat their instruments better than their children. They wrap them up in velvet and fancy cases build them. But them that plays the flageolet will go that extra bit. They be known to leave 'em soaking in a gallon jar of spit. For it's the spittle in the whistle that smooths out all the tunes. It's the spittle in the whistle that makes them shake the spoons. And the best of the players, their soul comes out in drips, in the rolls and the crans and the spittle off their lips. Old Murphy closed his eyes and began to lick his lips. Is he going to play a tune, or is he going to take a sip? Is he reaching for his pint, or is he picking up the whistle? Sure, he needs them both together for building up the spittle. For it's the spittle in the whistle that smooths out all the tunes. It's the spittle in the whistle that makes them shake the spoons. And the best of the players, their soul comes out in drips, in the rolls and the crans and the spittle off their lips. Who'd give whistlers any worse a name? The best of them have mothers too, in spite of all their fame. But if you see Choney, Sean Potts and all the rest, remind them of the humble juice that helps them play their best. For it's the spittle in the whistle that smooths out all the tunes. It's the spittle in the whistle that makes them shake the spoons. And the best of the players, their soul comes out in drips, in the rolls and the crans and the spittle off their lips. Well, thank you all. The Butterfly would be a great tune to follow that, because that is one of Murphy's favorite tunes to go with. Yeah, I agree. I often would finish that tune by dipping my whistle in a little bit of the water or soda or whatever I was drinking, and then blessing the audience. Not something we're going to do in COVID times. So anybody up next? I mean,
Do you want the butterfly next?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead and play it.
I have no idea what you'll hear because I'm hot spotting. I don't even have Wi-Fi.
Oh, you're sounding okay, at least vocally.
Okay, well, let's see what happens then. So the butterfly, just the butterfly, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And normally I'd stand, but you wouldn't see me. So I'll just do it sideways here on the butterfly.
Go for it.
Short version.
Very nice. Very nice, Flora. Now, Flora, have you played at sessions before?
I played at a session in Asheville, and it was exactly like you described. They were incredibly kind.
Uh-huh.
So
Asheville is the home of some fabulous Irish musicians.
Yes,
well.
yes, and
like John Doyle lives in that area.
Yes, and they were incredibly.
Yes, can tell you how wonderful John Doyle is.
They were just the sweetest people, but we knew none of the same songs. All the songs that I had played for years up in the north here, I don't think they knew one of them. Seriously, yes. It was so strange, and it's exactly what you were saying by region and song lists and songs. But yes, just in Asheville, that's the only place for sessions. And I've been up in, yes, Asheville.
Flora, what key was that in?
That's actually in E minor.
Okay, thanks.
So Jess, I saw
Flora,
you.
Flora, where are you from?
I'm from the Lewisburg area.
Oh, okay, I think you mentioned that. Sorry. Okay,
yeah, I'm affiliated with Bucknell currently, but not doing anything.
Now I see Dave had mentioned that he was willing to do a song, Stay a While, or Black Velvet Band or something like that. Dave, would you be up for it?
Yeah, I could do Black Velvet Band.
Sure, it's one that I'm familiar with.
It's a song
set in the north.
I learned from the Irish Rovers, probably. There's one thing in this song when they say, now, you know, the Black Velvet Band, people wonder, well, what was the Black Velvet Band? Well, it's pretty obvious that the guy is blaming all his troubles on the Black Velvet Band, which was a band that the woman had on. So he's blaming it on the woman, all his troubles. Didn't have anything to do with all the drinking that he had done, or that he could have actually been set up as part of her gimmick to steal something and pass it on to him. But you know, he had to blame it on something. So it's a Black Velvet Band, and I'm gonna do this in the key of D. There we go. Her eyes, they shone like the diamond. You'd think she was queen of the land. And her hair hung over her shoulders, tied up with the black velvet band. In a neat little town they called Belfast, apprenticed to trade I was bound. And many an hour sweet happiness I spent in that neat little town. Till bad misfortune came o'er me and forced me to stray from the land. Far away from me friends and relations, to follow the black velvet band. Her eyes, they shone like the diamond. You'd think she was queen of the land. And her hair hung over her shoulder, tied up with the black velvet band. As I was out walking one evening, not meaning to go very far, and met with a fickle-some damsel, selling her trade in the bar. With the watch she took from a customer, placed it right into my hand. And the very next thing that you know, me lads, I landed in Van Diemen's land. Her eyes, they shone like the diamond. Oh, I had to appear. Then the judge, he said, my young fellow, the case against you is quite clear. And 7 long years is your sentence. You're going to Van Diemen's land, far away from me friends and relations, to follow the black velvet band. Her eyes, they shone like the diamond. You'd think she was queen of the land. And her hair hung over her shoulders. That was the black velvet band. So come all you jolly old fellows, I'll have you take warning by me. If you're ever made weak by the liquor, me lads, beware of the pretty Colleen, for she'll fill you with whiskey and porter till you are not able to stand. And the law will put you in prison to follow the black velvet band. Her eyes, they shone like the diamond. You'd think she was queen of the land. And her hair hung over her shoulder, tied up with the black velvet band. One little thing, thank you, thanks. One little thing I'd like to add. They said you're going to Van Diemen's land. Well, Van Diemen was a guy who discovered the area of Tasmania, and Tasmania is now New Zealand. But
no,
they used to send all of the Irish prisoners. They used to send the Irish prisoners to Van Diemen's land or Tasmania, just to get them out of the country, get them away from people. And so that's what he's going to spend 7 years in Van Diemen's land. That's what that was all about.
Yeah.
Bad place to go, and there was water all around, so they couldn't escape.
Yeah.
So thank you.
One political moment on that one, Dave. Tasmania is still part of Australia, not New Zealand.
Yeah. Tasmania. Well, yeah. Okay. Tasmania.
Anybody else? Jessica Maham, you're threatening us with a pipe tune, are you?
Sure. Yeah. Give me a second. I don't have them set up. If somebody else wants to play, they can go ahead. But,
yeah.
Or just wait a minute and I'll get ready.
This is a friend of mine that plays regularly at our sessions, and she has to wrestle with the octopus first of all before she can actually get it into singing state. She plays Scottish small pipes, and So she has them. She has a chanter that allows her to sit comfortably in Irish session. She's a chanter in D as well as the traditional Scottish. I think it's B flat is the chanter for the Scottish pipes normally, but I could be wrong on that. But Jess is willing to play. Anyone else that wants to add a tune or a song before Jess gets the octopus out there and squeezes some life into it?
I was gonna say, Kathy looks like she's volunteering somebody here.
Yeah, Kathy's got a mandolin player there.
That's right. You hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go right ahead.
I'll play something for you then. Try to. You hear that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here we go. How'd I do? You recognize that?
My question again is, what key was that in?
Key of A, the Irish washerwoman.
Okay, right. Yeah, the Irish jig, right?
The Irish washerwoman, yeah.
Yeah, Irish washerwoman. It's a fun one.
Yeah. Yeah, you can get by with, if you play a tin whistle, which is the standard tin whistles in D, you have access to D and G very easily, and then the relative minors.
Oh, it's not easy. I play one a little bit, but it's not easy. Don't say it's easy. You're
well,
fooling.
I mean, you have easy access. I said you have easy access to two keys, G and D.
That's right. That's right.
The ease of playing is relative.
But it's not easy. The tin whistle you can carry in your pocket, but it's and it's a blast too. But it's not easy. Right.
So Jessica, are you going to go then?
Sure.
What are you going to play?
Yeah, I heard you say. Let me just explain something first. I'm sorry. You were saying about bagpipe chanter. So the big Highland pipe chanters, that is about B flat, depending on the weather. Yes, this is Scottish small pipe chanter. Scottish small pipe. Sorry. So it's bellows blown, so it's not mouth blown like the Highland pipes. And this chanter is in concert pitch. This is an A chanter. I very often will play the D chanter at the sessions, but that's not really going really well right now because the weather's changing and this is a high maintenance instrument. So, but I'm going to play a set of jigs. I believe the first one has to be Scottish because it's called the Road to Banff, but the second one is the Listen Again, which I believe is Irish. So give this a go. Thank you. And I think that's in D.
So in the questions there, somebody asked about the Highland Pipes compared to the Highland Pipes, and nice work, Jess, there. Jess can give you full details of this, but basically Highland and small pipes have a limited range. So basically, what is it, 9 notes, Jess?
Yes.
And yeah, so I'll let you take over from there.
Okay, yeah, so the Highland Pipes are the big loud ones that you hear in parades and stuff. This was kind of a modern invention based off of older instruments that were bellows blown that somebody basically wanted to play with other trad musicians, like in a session or in a band, and be in the same, you know, key and pitch and everything. So they developed these. What was I gonna say? Oh, so yeah, so this is based on the same fingerings as you would play Highland Pipes. A lot of the pipers I know that play this also play Highland Pipes. They started out in that and then came to this just because it's a lot easier to transition to. Overall, I think it's cheaper than a set of uilleann pipes. You'll very often see uilleann pipers with just a chanter or just a chanter and some drones, but a full set has regulators, and if you see the people like Killian Vallely and Joey Abarta and Jerry O'Sullivan and some of the really like the big name ones, they'll have the full sets of pipes, and they'll actually play chords on their drones with their wrists, so all their drones can be tuned, and they can play another part like a harmony to that. Again, yeah, it is chromatic. It also, I believe, has 2 octaves. This is basically an octave and a note. And again, with the small pipe chanter, because of the construction, the geometry of the bore, pretty much I'm stuck with those 9 notes. I do have, like, I have an extra hole. I could play a C natural. Basically, though, I'm stuck to a Mixolydian scale in whichever key that my chanter is in. But if anybody has any other questions, that's kind of my fast overview. But again, yeah, basically this is just drones that I can tune. A and D is what I usually have it in. Sometimes I can play an E or a B if I really want to. So, but yeah, so.
So you're saying that the chanter is the one that determines the key?
Yes, this is the melody, is the chanter. So whatever, these I want to tune to fit in the key that I'm playing in, but these are movable. I can pretty much infinitely go wherever, as long as it's within the range of being either all together or as far out, just like a flute or another instrument. But these, because there's just holes and no keys or anything, I'm stuck with that 1 octave. So yeah, so I have a D chanter I can switch to. It has a slightly different timbre, but it plays better with a lot of the Irish tunes, because then it's easier to play on other instruments, and then I don't have to do anything too funky with this. So yeah, thank you.
So Sylvia, were you interested in demonstrating any of your newfound musical skills for us?
I think that would be a little premature this time.
Okay.
But I am going to be going to a session Ken told me about next month, I think.
Do you live in the Reading area then?
I live in New Holland, Eastern Lancaster
Oh, okay.
County.
I know where you are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody else that's willing to throw a tune or song to us? How about the Dylans there? Are you guys listeners or participants in the singing and music making?
We're not quite ready yet, Seamus. I've got a harp, Celtic harp, and James has a mandolin, so we're working on it.
Oh, Grace has just perked up when she heard the word harp.
Harp, yeah. Grace, yes.
Grace can take the harp.
Grace can play a harp song.
Yeah.
But we're working on it. It's you got to get it up to session speed.
Well, we don't hear harp too often at sessions, although in this area we're unusually well stocked with harpists. There's the other Lee sister there, Mary Kate, that drags a harp along to every session and is always very welcome. And Diane Kadick is also another local session player that gets out there too. In towards Philadelphia, we have a few really good harpists like Grania Hambley and people like that that are definitely worth paying attention to if they're in your neck of the woods.
Actually, Grania is offering harp lessons by Zoom, and the Somerset Harp Festival has had Irish sessions. They had it was virtual sessions. There was 150 sessions that you could workshops and things, and that goes till the end of the year. But Grania is offering sessions on Wednesday afternoon.
Very good.
So yes, I've taken with Grania, and she's amazing. So is Billy Jackson.
Are the sessions free?
They have a play along that is free. The sessions are, I think it is, I'm trying to think what it is. It comes down to like $25 or $30. They'll teach a song by ear, and then she sends you the PDF. It's like once a month.
Oh, okay.
If you
I would love to, yeah. I attended Somerset 3 or 4 years because I play harp. But
yes, oh, absolutely. Yeah, so go on Grania's website. She's playing at 8 o'clock Irish time on Wednesday afternoons, and I think she starts this week. It's beginner, intermediate, and advanced. And I can't remember what it is. 4 classes, and I forget how much it is, but it's
okay. Okay. Well, Jess Hayden, thank you for this opportunity to have some group conversation and share information. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been so interesting for me. It's like a separate world that a lot of us don't even know that exists, that there's so much passion for this kind of music and playing it together. So really grateful for Seamus to bring out a lot of this information and for so many of you to share your passion and your music and things that you're interested in. So it's great. Thank you.
So, Miss Grace, are you going to play a tune or sing a song for us or do anything?
I could. I have my banjo with me.
Woohoo, a banjo!
So this was my big quarantine project. So back in April, I'm like, well, since I'm stuck in the house, I guess I'll just learn the banjo. So my poor family had to learn my untuned banjo early skills all through COVID. So, but we're all still here, so that's the important thing.
You survived, and so did they. That's good.
Yeah. So this one is called. I'll give this one a go, but this is called. Let me think if I can. Lucy Fars. It's a barn dance. So please feel free to play along. I'd love you guys to play along, even though I can't hear you. But please feel free to get your instrument and play along to Lucy Fars. I believe it's in G. So here we go. early. So hopefully when the sessions are up again, I'll have the banjo and in tune and be playing some tunes. So we'll see.
Well, that's another string to your bow, I suppose we could say.
Exactly.
Didn't you play mandolin as well already?
That was my sister.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I knew there was a mandolin in your group. I wasn't sure who it was playing it.
Yeah, my sister Teresa plays mandolin, but I've been dying to play banjo. I think it's because sometimes taking a hammered dulcimer to sessions is a lot of work. So
Yeah,
I
you
needed
can't
an
put them onto
instrument
your arm so easily.
less notes to tune and easier to carry. So
True.
primary reason for picking up the banjo, but
Yeah.
it's a great instrument.
There's a group of Scottish musicians down in like Maryland and DC area, and there's a guy that brings a hammered dulcimer a lot of times to theirs.
Oh, fun.
Very often it's like at his house, so that might be why.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a lot easier.
Who
Yeah.
else has a tune? Anyone? Seamus, did you have another one to sing or play?
Oh, I could certainly, finish the evening singing songs for you here. This is, I mentioned when we were talking about resources for singers, they mentioned the Sam Henry book of songs from the north of Ireland called Songs of the People. And this is one of the songs from Songs of the People, which has kind of become one of the songs that I have gotten known for singing recently. And it's a wounded warrior song probably from the era of the Napoleonic Wars, the beginning of the 1800s. It's the song of a young man who was a miner in the Borders region in Scotland. And he was conscripted into the British Army to fight in the Napoleonic Wars, and did not do so well in it. And this song is called Bonnie Woodhall, and I'll use this one as a way to finish out things here. Down by yon green bushes, near Calder's clear stream, where me and my Annie so oft times hae been. Oh, the hours they flew past, so happy were we. It was little she thought that a soldier I'd be. So it's farewell to Annie, for I must away. For the king he needs soldiers, and I must obey. But if Providence prove kind, Lord, until I return, I will wed with my Annie by Calder's clear burn. On the 14th of August, our regiment was lost, when a ball from the enemy our ranks came across. Oh, it struck me in the temple, the blood trickled down. I reeled and I staggered, and I fell to the ground. Come here, cried our captain, come here with great speed, for I fear by this bullet young Dinsmore lies dead. Two men with a stretcher did quickly appear, and they carried me away to a hospital near. Cold water and brandy they poured out so free. They turned me all over, my wounds for to see. What if I had my Annie to bind up my wounds? One kiss from her sweet lips would soon deaden the stones. And it's when I am weary and think on lang syne, when I was a collier and wrought in the mines, oh, the tears they do trickle and down they do fall, like the dew off the roses round bonny Woodhall. Oh, thank you all very much. So that's kind of about ends our session and fun for the evening. So I'll thank you all for participating and for listening in, and it was great fun. Hopefully we can do something like this again before too much longer. And I'll hand it back to Jess and Grace.
Yeah, thank you so much, Seamus. That was such a great session. It was really great to hear you speak, of course, and then all the participants of different people. And it's so clear how important these sessions are in our area and throughout the country and really throughout the world. So it's really great to get a little vision of what it's all about. Grace, did you want to say anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to say this was so fun, and I'm so happy everyone played a tune. That's something I have really missed, and the last time I was at a session was in February. So even though we were all in our own homes, I felt like I was like right back at a session. So I think we should do this again. This is great.
Yeah, well, thank you. I agree. It'd be great to do something else. We'll be discussing it, and thank you so much for participating and coming on, to everybody that signed on this evening. Okay, anything else for the good of the order, Seamus or Grace or anybody else? Any last comments?
Are you going to be contacting us, the ones that signed up to get this Zoom? Would you be contacting us in an email to let us know what follow-up is?
Yeah, so we're definitely going to put the Zoom on our YouTube channel, so you'll get a chance to take a look at it. And definitely you'll be apprised of any additional things. It'll be Seamus and I that can cook up. I haven't discussed it with him, so we'll need to chat. But it was just so great to get, such a nice response to this workshop. So love to have something follow up, but we'll see. We'll have to talk about it.
One kind of parting shot from me. I'll put together kind of a list of the resources that I was talking about that may not have gotten into the chat. And I'll send that to Jess, and she can forward it to everybody that took part in the session. So again, thank you all for
great idea,
putting up with me and
our pleasure. Wow.
My rambling tunes and whatnot.
All right. Thank you to everyone.
You all again, either live or at a session in the coming years.
Hopefully soon. Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone. This is a great evening.
Good night.
All right. Good night.